silent killer. All right, good morning. Good morning. I hope that everyone rested well. This is Kwasa Peaceful Eating, aka Body Culinary. And today we're going to be touching base about chronic stress, right? So, any of you that are on board, if you are new to the channel, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. This is Body Culinary, professional chef, personal trainer in whole living foods and natural foods and fitness for over 35 years. It's what I'm really, really passionate about. So I coach people in whole, fresh living and unprocessed foods. If there's any processing, it's at a minimal and you do it yourself. And I coach this as a lifestyle, not a diet, not a diet. So you don't have to hop on and off again, which takes a whole lot of worry and stress off the table. On this channel, I share some of my journey of radical self acceptance. And what that looks like for me is really embracing and being creative with the natural features that I have been assigned, right? I'm not anti makeup, though I strive to live as natural as I can, with my priority being my health. We're all at our most attractive when we are healthy. Healthy, that's from the inside out. That cuts down a lot of spending on clothes, a lot of medications, and also we can alter the trajectory of the second half of our lives and being on pain medications, or should the unforeseen happen, our bodies can bounce back. So, on this channel, I like to share 3 leverage lifestyle practices, and those lifestyle practices are, and they're leveraged for a reason because they give you back so much more for the investment of your time, your energy, and your focus and attention, especially your time spent here on the internet. Those 3 leverage lifestyle practices are what I like to call peaceful consumption, aka food that demonstrates that it loves you back. A daily personal movement practice. It's nice to look cute, but we're moving primarily because of how it makes us feel and the chemical reactions within the body. Looking nice and having strong, dense bones and being able to protect yourself, that's, an added bonus. And then there's also garden slash nature therapy, right? As a species, we are, we hear all the time, we're creatures of habits. We are very easily conditioned in a lot of conditioned habits and ways of thinking and doing things that have been ingrained into our bones, our brains, and our nervous system from children. And we can assume that it's easier to change. But as we can see from a good portion of the population being unhealthily overweight in America and now globally, as we can see just looking around at our midsections and at our blood reports and the prevalence of cancer, we can see that the health is not, it's not there. It's not the majority of the population. It's not even there for many of our young children who are just starting out their young lives. So, what's missing? What's missing? I like to explore that, not only in an intellectual way, but in a way so that when you leave this interaction on the internet, you are motivated to get into action around the things you say are important to you. And hopefully, health is a core value for you. If something is a core value, if it's really in your actual belief system, if it is a practice, then you will see it in certain areas in your life. And you can assess, usually, if you're not getting the results, or if you are getting significant results, you're going to see it show up several places in your life, definitively, tangibly. And that's going to be on your in your checkbook and also on your calendar. So if you take a moment to do an accurate accounting, if you have a nice toned body, then it's likely, and not just the tone on the outside, but also the health of your arteries and your insides are healthy and functioning and productive. You can run, jump, kick, punch, whatever you need to do. If you have low to moderate levels of body fat, then likely if we look and do an accounting on your calendar, then fitness is on your calendar on a regular basis if you have results, right? If health is a core value in fitness, right, because we need this body temple to perform for us, if you're getting tangible results, then we can likely see that it's in your checkbook. will likely see that represented as monthly payments to a gym membership or your coach or your trainer. We're going to see it in the types of food that you buy on your receipts. We're going to see it if you've added a new area to your home or exercise mats. We're going to see it reflected. If you don't see it reflected, then likely there's not consistent investment. So that means it's not real. So if something is real, you can usually attach some numbers to it, and it will usually show up on your checkbook and on your calendar when you do an accurate auditing and assessment of how you've been spending your time and your energy and your resources. Right? So take a moment. If you're interested in this content that I share on this channel, please feel free to like, comment respectfully, and subscribe to the channel. I invite you also to share this channel with someone who you know could benefit, who could use some motivation and some inspiration to get active, right? And who could use some community, right? Community coming together around specific activities. And the activities I like to come together around, which I think most people would be the garden, peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates that it loves you back. Actually, really beautiful, delicious food in garden slash nature therapy. These lifestyle practices will serve you until your hair is white. Also, do know that you can download a copy of Whole Living Foods in the Hood if you want to get your mind right, right? So you can get your body nice and tight and toned. Then you can download Whole Living Foods in the Hood with menus to fit your budget. So you can get a quick snapshot first of the mindset, right? How I came from a junk food junkie to be someone that no longer eats junk food at all anymore, which is amazing. Which is amazing. I feel so fortunate. Also, you'll see all the different tips and tricks for implementing healthy eating, unprocessed foods as a lifestyle into your lifestyle on a daily basis for you and your family, and all the things I've been doing over these years. You'll also see several different shopping lists with pictures of the foods with receipts and what I got for those different amounts of food. So you can have some idea for what I'm shopping for. So it's whole, fresh plants. If you want to add other things, you can add that in, but I'm focusing on a lifestyle of really whole, fresh living and unprocessed foods, right? With minimal processing. And that's something we discuss inside of our classes. There's also the cocoon workshop, definitely a season to go in, focus on yourself, go into the cocoon and bloom. Raw vegan goddess cakes, that workshop is also available Monday through Thursday at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. We have the 5 a.m. workout. 5 a.m. hit it, quit it. That's a nice fruit roll up of cardio, flexibility, and strength right from your home. So if you have enough space for a mat, you have enough space to really dramatically change the shape of your body. And especially the foundation is your mind, your mindset. That's a big part of our coaching. Sundays, Eastern Standard Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is our live coaching. So, in order to maintain and sustain, education is totally necessary, as well as being able to have all of your questions asked and have some positive accountability and support. All right, so that being said, let's jump into today's topic, which is chronic stress, the silent killer. So, you all can let me know, have you ever heard that term before? And actually, as we're having this conversation, I have a deal with myself. If I'm online, as much as possible, I want to maximize my time online. So, as I've said before, a wonderful way to use this channel would be to either cut up some fruits and vegetables, or to declutter, or to be in the garden at the same time, right? So, that's a nice way to utilize your time on the internet. So, really, you get something back for your time. It's just not hours that you're losing. All right. So there's nothing, well, there's several things, but there's nothing like a nice decluttering session. So I'm going to be decluttering and folding and looking at some things I want to release at the same time we're having this conversation. So feel free to do the same. I invite you to replay this when you could use some support, or if you're in what I call stinking thinking and you feel a little stuck. A great practice that I learned many, many years ago is to grab something and to start cleaning. That is an immediate mood shifter. All right, so chronic stress. What do you all know about chronic stress? Chronic stress, right? And its effects on the body. Now, it's no secret that many of us are experiencing chronic stress. Right now, I would say with the advent of the internet, this new form of television, We have stress at our fingertips all day long, these little handheld devices, because we're usually not determining what images are being broadcast to us. There's a lot of violence that is easy to see. There's a whole lot of violence. There's no real boundaries for children usually in terms of what's shown, or your permission is not asked if you're just flicking through the channels. Quite often, maybe some things that might be entertaining, but that also are really triggering your nervous system and your subconscious, right? We may take for granted how deeply our nervous system is affected by what we're watching and what we're listening to. So these screens, although they give us access to a lot of information, are a big source of stress, right? If we combine that also with um, with the knowledge that today we live in a very volatile environment, it seems more volatile. Maybe it's because we have so much access to watching so many unsafe situations online and the way they're being broadcast through the news. But many people's livelihoods being volatile economically, in terms of physical safety. A lot of people are depressed and feeling hopeless, many unhinged, right? So, quite often we're tuning in online into many of our fellow humans unhinged and perpetuating that unhingedness and anger and rage and unprocessed emotions and trauma onto other people. So constantly watching and listening to a lot of the stuff being sold as entertainment is actually a form of stress, right? Very different than listening to the sound of the birds. And don't get me wrong, I love music, but very different from the effect on your nervous system, right? Um, the garden, really, right? The garden has a whole nother effect on your nervous system. And if you've ever heard or if you're familiar with the term triggers or being triggered, it's like it's automatic. It's an automatic pilot, right? There's a way that our nervous systems, um, our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous systems are wired, right? The way that this divine mechanism, this machine that we have, is wired. So our nervous system is set up to keep us alive. It's often in survival mode. If it wasn't, we likely wouldn't be able to survive. But that nervous system, our parasympathetic nervous system is, and our security system is on guard at all times to keep us alive, really, to protect us so we can get out of harm's way as quickly as possible, right? But quite often, we are in an environment where, although we're not subject to dinosaurs, we may be in work environments or dealing with people or on the road, experiencing road rage where you can't get away from people, or just the worries about the economy and your livelihood is a tremendous source of constant worry and stress. And all of our thoughts, all of our emotions actually have chemical responses in the body, right? So, what do you folks think about that? Do you ever stop to reflect on how what we're thinking about sometimes it seems uncontrollably, even when we try to shut off our minds, right? It seems that we can't shut them off. Do you ever take into account how that is affecting your body? By now, we've heard all kinds of news reports, and many of us may be familiar with people in our lives or in our community that have had heart attacks, right, due to stress. Today, you can go on YouTube and you can watch whole heart surgeries. I've known of people that have had several stents put in their heart to prop it open, prop the arteries open. So, as someone that's worked as a personal trainer for many years, for 10 years at Equinox, which is a top gym in New York City, as one of their top trainers. Really, really wonderful environment for trainers. I had to take so much education. I was surrounded by some of the best minds and bodies in fitness. And it's a very educated consumer, very educated consumer base. And they really, they pay really good money for training. So I was constantly taking workshops in education. I had already had some education before I came to Equinox, but I got even more. And I remember taking this workshop on stress. And I remember learning about the effects of stress on the arteries. And one of the things that has always stayed with me for years, is the image, right, of the arteries becoming plaqued as a physiological response to stress. Like, now I knew intellectually, that the body has negative, effects to stress, but just that visual, like I had to read it over and over, and then to see a picture demonstrated of what that looked like, it blew my mind. So I'm thinking, especially someone that exercises for years consistently, I don't eat junk food, just to make the distinction. I could be eating all these healthy foods, raw foods, competing in fitness, and my arteries could become plaqued as a response to stress. That blew my mind. So that meant, like, okay, if I'm not managing my stress, and exercise is definitely one huge way to transmute and to manage and to process stress, but that's not the only way. But to really get that the body is secreting cholesterol. The body makes most of its own cholesterol. And one of its functions, right, is to buffer the acidic effects of the body chemicals that are secreted during stress, right? The atherosclerosis, I have a list, that starts to plaque up in the arteries and actually start to block up, kind of like almost like a thick band-aid inside the arteries as a response to stress. Wow, that blew my mind. So it made me think of just the worry or fussing and fighting. That can actually negate a lot of the healthy foods that we're eating, and even the exercise. Because again, today we have, I think, astronomical amounts of stress. And it's like we're addicted to a lot of the things that are causing us stress, which is crazy, right? We're addicted to a lot of the substances, and it's all, I would say, it goes on a consumption wheel. That's what I call it, a consumption wheel. It's like we're addicted to, if any of you folks remember Jerry Springer, I remember the stuff that would be on that show, but just absolutely insane. You're like, this can't be real. Where did they find these people? But you would watch it, you would say, like, this is ridiculous, but then you would find yourself almost addicted and couldn't turn it off. And over the years, I'm someone that's very fascinated by self actualization as well as self sabotage. Actually, as I've said quite often, I study junkies, and that's because I witnessed a lot of alcohol, substance abuse, and junk food addiction, and obesity and all the comorbidities when I was growing up. So I always wanted to know, what was the why? What was the why? So to see this cholesterol, this plaquing inside the arteries, and then to really get that right now there's so much constant worry, stress, and fear that is like, it's now a really more preeminent fact of life, even for children. As you're tuning in, children that have access to iPads, and there's no there are no boundaries for what children are exposed to when they turn on the TVs. Children are highly stressed. If you have conversations with children, I remember many years ago when there was the September 11th incident. My son's school saw, some of those aircrafts go into the building. So their whole reality and perception on life is forever altered. And the things that children would have discussions about today have been unheard of decades ago, right? But the fact of the matter is that we are under a tremendous amount of stress, and it's intellectualized. Yet, I'm still hearing, the other day, a parent shared with me that her child gets 2 hours of gym. So we have small children from very young age inside the classroom, set up to pass tests, to study. I don't even know that children or young people are getting penmanship anymore, but they're learning something in there. Of course, there's also the competition with clothes, there's the bullying, there's the cyberbullying, there's the not feeling enough. It's constant stress. And so the body, the cells are being bathed in certain chemicals and hormones. It is chronic. It is chronic. Our arteries are actually being clogged as a physiological response to stress. What are your thoughts on this? Do you ever give this some thought? Greetings, Dora. Greetings. Do you ever give thought to your children? Because we may think about ourselves as the adults who are going out and who are earning the money to pay the rent and so on. And now there are many adults moving back in with their parents simply because they can't afford the rent, right? This is stressful. I would even say that we are stressed when it comes to what we look like because the so-called beauty industry is very expensive. It's almost like expensive to be quote unquote natural with your own natural hair. The amount of products, each product has a whole line of products. Even when I look online to see what do they call the no makeup look or the minimalist look, and the beginning of the videos will say, "Oh, this is a minimalist beauty," and I'll see the person throw out like 5 products, 5 to 9 products for minimalistic look, and I'm like, what? Sometimes I'm thinking like, are we? No offense. I'm like, are we stupid or this does not make any sense. But this says a lot about how we've been conditioned. And I would even say to be beautiful or to be chosen. I can even think of women in their 30s that are really extremely stressed about getting married. And it's no secret what we can observe in terms of the gender war. So, how are you processing your stress? Right? Have you thought about your arteries getting clogged? Can you imagine working so hard and to have a heart attack at a young age, right? Because of stress, unmanaged, unprocessed stress. It's not a secret. This is known intellectually, but there's a huge gap of what I call it a split mind, right? The cognitive dissonance, I think, is on 100, if not greater, right? We know intellectually, but we don't do. It's interesting how, and it speaks a lot to us um, not really fully comprehending our own psyche, how our mind works, and how triggers work. And even if we have some kind of basic level of understanding, that still hasn't put us in a position of neutralizing it. Because again, if you look on our checkbooks and on our calendar, you can see that there's more of a tendency for us to buy more things, more solutions, and sometimes quite often the solutions are causing several more problems. It's supposed to be a solution, but it's causing us several more problems. You need to keep buying more stuff to uphold the solution. The solutions aren't really sustainable. It seems like they create a lot more issues than they were supposed to fix, like with a lot of the medications. Or now we can see with a lot of the augmentations and the surgeries, right? We're sold on the hope that now we'll be chosen, now we'll be better. But we can see our bodies are rejecting a lot of the implants and the things we're putting into them, not to make them wrong or right, right? It's not about arguing with people online, but in your own quiet moments, what can you discern with your own discernment? What can you discern? The other day, I saw a new procedure. This latest procedure now is when you go for your little manicure. For those of you that go for manicures, and again, I'm not necessarily anti-makeup, but my priority is health. They have this new procedure now where they're taking needles. You're going to get your nails done, and they're injecting needles into your hands, into your veins, right? If maybe you've done a lot of dishes, right? Had your hands in a lot of chemicals, and your hands look quote unquote old, right? You're going through the natural processes of life, and they're injecting fillers into your veins so that your hands look plumped up. I was like, wow. I can never stop with the wow. Just when I think, I've had one wow, it's like something comes and outwows it. Just the amount of stuff, that's online. It's scary. It's so alarming. But I just think, I don't know, it's really scary the lengths that we'll go to for a look. And at one time, women, we could have blamed it on men or said, and you'll see in the comments sometimes women saying, well, if men didn't choose this, then we wouldn't have to do this. But at this point, I don't think we can just say this is on the men, right? Men have their own issues, but the vanity, is it really coming from a place of security? Or in our quiet moments, can we discern that it's coming from a place of insecurity or not feeling good enough? And it's gone somewhere else. I would say that it is a form of stress. It's no longer just a focus on maintaining a healthy weight. As a matter of fact, the body positivity movement has turned into something else. So there are, no offense to anyone, there are fat positivity conferences. I couldn't even believe when I saw this, where you have people bonding over morbid obesity, right? And again, your weight is not all of who you are, but you have people now saying that, and you can be very slim, right? Slim presenting and be unhealthy. But the fact that today we have folks saying that being morbidly obese is healthy is mind blowing, especially as someone that has had numerous family members transition out of here from the complications that go along with morbid obesity, right? Diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure, and then resulting cancer has taken many of my family members out of here, right? Also, and again, this is a problem now in the United States. Over 70% of the population is unhealthily overweight. We're not talking about you just having hips and curves, unhealthily overweight. And by the way, call me simple, but adipose tissue, the technical term for fatty tissue, right? It has a specific behavior, just like lean mass has a specific behavior in the body. Excess adipose tissue is inflammatory. It's inflammatory. It is not active. Lean mass is dynamically active, and we are losing muscle by age 35, if not earlier, exponentially every year. So that's one of the reasons why, as we mature and as we age and we start to have falls, our lifespan goes down. Our lifespan, our quality of life, if you stay alive, but our lifespan goes down as well as our quality of life. Additionally, you can look this up, our grip strength. Our grip strength is associated with our vitality. Now, how could that be? We won't go into the whole thing on grip strength, but look it up. So there are a lot of these things that are leaving imperceptibly. You don't notice that your grip strength is leaving you until one day you go to open a jar and you can't open a jar. Or some of the more mature folks that I've worked with, or in my work environment in high-end gyms, they go to push a revolving door and they're stuck in a revolving door. Who would have ever thought of that? Because they have no upper body strength, right? It also speaks to the fact that if we're not working, we don't have to work for food. Everything is, just order it on your phone. You're not exerting yourself. So you're not exerting yourself. You're not working. So you don't have any muscle tissue. You're losing muscle very quickly because we're inactive. Children are sitting down all day. Adults are sitting down 12 plus hours a day. The body's not designed to sit down all day. So how interesting is it that we're having augmentation procedures when the glutes, which are designed to fire to get you out of harm's way so you can sprint and so you can jump, the glutes are atrophied and they're flat from the sitting. So we are adding these faux things into the body, foreign chemical substances, which the body, most of us reject. And these foreign substances don't have nerve endings in it. It's false tissue, right? Some of it likened to bathroom caulk. And so it can't turn into a muscle. It's like, I don't know how we're not thinking, but it's not real tissue. It doesn't have nerve ending. This is just from a practical standpoint. It doesn't have any nerve endings. So it's going to weigh you down if you're trying to get out of harm's way, just in the most practical sense. So it appears that our thinking is not super long term or efficient because of the way these solutions are being marketed at us. And so you would think that these augmentations should relieve stress. But actually, we're experiencing even more stress and more insecurity, right? At these faux fixes. They're not getting to the root. They're not getting to the root of how we're really feeling about ourselves. So these are additional chronic stress, right? Our arteries getting clogged, right? That means that it's impeding the flow of oxygen to the brain, right? Impeding the flow of nutrients to the cells. It's impeding, and if we don't have proper blood flow to the cells, right, of the brain, then how can we make sharp decisions? You need good nutrition and you need a good flow of blood and oxygen to the brain in order to even make good decisions. Just practical. How can we expect the brain to make good decisions if it doesn't have nutrition and if it doesn't have oxygen? So, all of this is for you to consider. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments. How are you managing your stress, chronic stress, taking into consideration that even children are on the receiving end of chronic stress today, every day, throughout the course of the day, even while we're sleeping, right? All the residue that's left inside the brain. What kinds of lifestyle practices have you implemented in the past to manage stress? Have you been able to be sustainable with the things that you've tried? And if not, um, what was the challenge? You know, what did you try that was unsustainable? Would love to hear because perhaps somebody else could grow and benefit from your sharing. What have you done to manage the chronic stress, right? Is it merely just food, right? Which is, although it's delicious, taking in excess food and excess substances, masquerade, really any substances that are masquerading as food or masquerading as nutrition, that is actually, although it tastes delicious in the mouth, that is actually a form of stress to the body. When we put anything in there that the cells can't recognize, well, the body has an inflammatory response, has to get it out of there. Things that don't belong in the body. What's your game plan for managing chronic stress? Would love to hear from you. So, our threefold approach, at least mine over here in this little corner of the universe, that I have found sustainable and practical over the years. Oh, those three lifestyle practices that I think people can really underestimate. Peaceful consumption, food that demonstrates that it loves you back. That means it's not clogging your arteries, it's not clogging your colon, it's not blocking up your pores or your skin, it's not full of anti nutrients that have a load of flavor, but the body's like, this is a dirty joke. I've got flavor, but there's no nutrition in the package with the flavor of what you just ingested. Doesn't have harmful chemicals in it that are affecting your nervous system. Peaceful consumption, garden slash nature therapy. If we're going to be triggered, why not trigger ourselves in reverse? Trigger ourselves into calm rather than worry. Nature does have the capacity to do that. It's triggering, right? Just try going outside and being around some birds or listening to the sound of birds or seeing the colors. It automatically takes your attention somewhere else, and it is extremely beneficial to the body. That's a fact. Without you really even having to think about it, it's automatic. So these are some of the reasons why I'm constantly harping on these three leverage lifestyle practices. They are practices that you have access to: peaceful consumption, garden slash nature therapy, and a daily personal movement practice. They will never leave you. People may leave you, but these lifestyle practices will never leave you. So let me know what your thoughts are. What are you aware of in terms of chronic stress, and what are your main sources? Can you identify your main sources of chronic stress, and do you have a game plan for how you want to approach it, right? How you want to neutralize that chronic stress? Uh, Remember Monday, March 11th, there's going to be a food prep workshop. So you can go on to Body-Culinary if you'd like to attend. It's going to be after work, so it's going to be 6 p.m. That's going to be Central Standard Time, and that's going to be 7 p.m. right, Eastern Standard Time. So you have time after you get home from work. All of that fresh produce that you have, we're going to be prepping it together for the week, and you'll be in great company to ask your questions about health and fitness. And there's nothing like getting into action around what you say is important to you, what your core values are. Again, like, comment respectfully, subscribe, uh, follow Body Culinary, or come along on this journey of whole, fresh living foods and fitness on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Reach out to me for coaching, and I will see you soon. Create a great day on purpose just because you said so. We'll see you soon.